Okay, guys, I thought it'd be kind of fun to look at something a little different this morning. I feel if we're gonna study the economy of motion in golfers, I think it's important for us to look at other athletes and specifically study those that use their bodies in a way that create a mechanical advantage. And so, if we look at the history of even place kicking in the NFL, on the left here you'll see the typical place kicker. What in the early 40s, 50s, and early 60s even, they just kicked the ball straight on. They were big guys, offensive linemen usually, that just use the mass of their leg to just go forward. And then on the right here, there was a guy that came along in the 60s, 64 to be exact, named Pete Gogolak, who changed the game forever. He was a Hungarian soccer player who used a different approach. He just kicked the football the way he kicked a soccer ball. And, now in today's game, we never see a straight-on kicker. So Gogolak figured out a better way. He knew that kicking it from this angled approach allowed him to essentially create a better hip rotation. Instead of just using the mass of the legs, he used his hips to generate more leg and foot velocity, which ultimately allowed him to impart a greater force to the ball and kick it a farther distance. So, and you don't have to be big to do this. Today's kickers are typically thin in stature, but generate a ton of speed, up to a ton of force at times under the ball. So I thought that was a interesting history lesson. But let's look at even other sports. So we got Barry Bonds here on the left, and then I'm going to flip him around as a righty, and then we have Ichiro Suzuki here on the right. So you're going to see a contrasting difference here, guys, in technique. So I'm just going to take them to the point where Bonds lands here in transition. So I'm just going to take him to where the left foot touches down, and then I'm going to take Suzuki to the same place. Obviously a great hitter, both of these guys. But one guy here on the left has, 750 home runs. One guy has around 100. So there's a difference in their sequence. So again, there to left foot touchdown, I'll just put a line here on the bill of both of their hats. So on Bonds here, and then on Suzuki. Now let's do Bonds first. From there to impact, you'll see how his head stays. It almost goes away from the line. So at impact, look at this. This again, angled approach. Hips are rotating. Let's watch Suzuki now. Continue to move forward. More forward, and then you can see he's more straight up and down. So I've used this analogy before about the slamming the door shut, but he's essentially if you're trying to slam a door shut, a hinge door, and the hinge is always moving away from you, how could you ever slam it? So he's essentially moving the hinge constantly forward, and he kind of hits it with his arms, and he places it well. But you don't see the rotary power generated in his swing, like you do as a Barry Bonds. A great swing, in my opinion, regardless of the steroids. So let's look, in how you might say, how does this relate to a golfer? Well, there's been great golf swings that used this rotary approach throughout the history, and one of my favorite is McDonald Smith. And you see McDonald Smith up to the top. You see him land in transition, and you see him rotate. Ben Hogan admired his swing as well as many others. So again, you see this axis of rotation, much like Bonds, using his body. So look at Jamie Sadlowski, another modern day great swing to impact. The same axis as a Max Smith. So guys, it's fun looking at other sports and seeing how other athletes generate speed. We see Gogolak change the game. We see someone like Barry Bonds who swings very similar on a very similar axis to these longer hitters in the game of golf. So if we can learn from this, learn how to use our bodies to create more speed, more rotation, ultimately the game can be more fun. So hopefully you all enjoyed that. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.